So a big part of what you're trying to do in your community is the strong links which you've now worked hard to do over the last couple of months, building into the Stonehaven Community Sports Hub. Fantastic, really positive initiative. Just in your opinion, how's the Community Sports Hub enabled the club to engage with your community wider?
Yeah, I think one of the things is within the community there's lots of other sports, and one of the things for the Sport Hub has done for us is allowed us to actually reach out and be in partnership with those clubs. I'll give you an example. Athletics had nowhere to train on a Monday night, and what we did was said, well, we've got floodlights, we're free on the pitch on a Monday night, come and use the floodlights. So actually that inter-club partnership is just something that we've actually developed through the hub and being part of the hub, which is fantastic for us. Another thing that we look to do is when we've got a strength conditioning course, for example, in the fitness suite, we're actually going to look to offer facilities and slots on those courses out to like tennis and basketball, football, so they can become strength conditioning qualified as well. So it's just that interworking that's all developed through the sports hub, which is really important for us as a club, that it's inclusive for everybody.
So, first of all, what barriers did you identify that were in the way to allow your training to happen?
I mean, I guess
Or not to
or not to happen. Yeah, that's probably the more thing. Yeah, I guess the main thing was that the Mackey Large Games Hall is where we do all our winter training. So effectively, once the clocks change, we go indoors with in particular the smaller kids on a Monday night. So that runs all the way through the winter while school's open. And obviously with the COVID restrictions, there was no availability of the games hall, and therefore we started to train on the streets or car parks, wherever we could get a bit of light in the evening when the light disappeared. We did try down Mineral Well and get a bit of residual light off the artificial pitch down there, but that wasn't working. And it was just through a hub meeting that I put out the call for, anybody know anywhere, and that's when the rugby sort of stuck up their hand and went, yeah, we can allow you access to the Red Cloak pitches under the floodlights. And I guess that was the problem, and the solution ultimately through the hub discussions was to use the playing field up at Red Cloak.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously without that meeting that we had, and it just came out of conversation, without the hub, it would never have actually worked in terms of getting together and getting that little partnership going. Because it benefits us as well. You guys using our facilities, keeps the lights going, and obviously it strikes that little partnership as a community, as two clubs working together, which is what the hub's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right. It would never have happened, if it wasn't for that. And let's call it a chance discussion. But when the hub goes round, everybody asking, what's the issues, what they're up to, and it popped out of there. And obviously it was a bit of a coincidence as well that the Monday night that we normally do, at the time we normally do it, is you had the available. So that was an extra bonus. Because we were considering to move to whatever night we could get access, but that worked brilliantly. And initially, when lockdown sort of eased, that was the sort of back end of last year, and we quite a few times we had almost 40 kids there. Obviously, when the weather wasn't so great, we had to call it off a couple of times. But in general, we had a fairly high turnout at that time.
That's brilliant. I'm getting a real sense that traditionally in terms of community sports clubs, you're reliant on doing some work in the community and then the community coming to you. But really through this community sports hub and the way that's been set up in Stonehaven, operating at the now, it's giving you a real opportunity for the club to go out into the community instead of the other way around. Absolutely. Are you getting that sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what we feel with the sports hub, just that ability to work with other clubs that might have things that we can't offer, but yet we can work together to offer it to everybody in the community. Same with us, we have things that some other clubs can't offer, but if we work together, we kind of target the whole of the community to get, health and well-being, mental health and everything's a big part of that, and being active helps with all that kind of thing, which is really important.
That's fantastic. So we've obviously been through a pretty challenging time over the last 12 to 18 months. It's affected the community as a whole. Are you getting a sense that through being able to share experiences, as you've just described, through the Community Sports Hub network, the the monthly meetings that we engage in, are you finding that there's a real upliftment in community spirit and you're able to support one another better?
Yeah, absolutely. During what's happened over the past year and a half, the big silver lining is people realise how important health is, mental health. So what we've seen as a club, we've actually had a huge uptake. More and more people come along to the club because they're fed up of just being at home. And one of the things with the Sports Hub is how we can share those experiences, and what we can do is offer our experiences to other clubs and they can do it vice versa. And it's just that whole hub of community, which again for me is probably one of the most important things throughout community networking. It's just that sharing ideas and helping each other out.
Do you see opportunity going forward for clubs to start working closer together, potentially sharing membership schemes, providing opportunities for different members of the community to experience different aspects and different cultures of different clubs and the games that those clubs do?
Absolutely. I think one of the most important things that I say when I go into any schools when I'm coaching is we should try as many sports as possible. With this networking approach and everyone's working together, everyone throughout any age has a chance to try as many sports as possible and as many leisure activities as possible. So doing it together can only benefit the community.
Fantastic. Final question on that. You do a lot of work with the Active Schools team in and around Stonehaven. Are you starting to see a change in narrative from them at that level in terms of recognising the impact or the growing impact that the Community Sports Hub is having?
Yeah, absolutely. The communication actually between Active Schools and all the sports throughout the region is fantastic, but it's all aligned to one vision, which is the Sports Hub to create as much opportunity as possible, and Active Schools are a big part of that. And the way they work with us and the close network that we have, all it does is just benefit more and more the club, the community, every member of that community, and Aberdeenshire Active Schools network.
Brilliant. So you mentioned there about the Sports Hub benefiting the club and the community. Do you have any specific examples of how the Community Sports Hub has benefited Mackie Academy Rugby Club?
Yeah, I think one of the major things for us is building partnerships and building connections with other clubs that we wouldn't have actually built without the Sports Hub. So that's allowed us to go into different avenues that they can offer. For example, like us with the tennis, with the athletics, letting them use the facilities, but also things like the fitness suite, how we can all work together to use that. Out with sharing ideas. If tennis and basketball have really good ways of recruiting players or retaining coaches, they share that knowledge, and all that does is benefit us and benefits them at the same time. So it's just sharing those goodwill stories. Fantastic.
Brilliant. Coming to the end of our wee chat here, but in your opinion, why would you recommend clubs get involved in the Stonehaven Community Sports Hub?
Yeah. One thing I would say is I recommend every club gets involved in it. No matter where they are within the region or within Scotland, getting involved in the hubs, it just benefits everybody. Working alongside other clubs, other members throughout the community, it just does nothing but beneficial. To be fair, for me, in my eyes, there's no drawback to it at all, which is fantastic. Like I said earlier, we can all share our visions and our experiences, so we can pick up something from a different club that will really benefit our club and vice versa. And the other thing is, not every club has every discipline, so there's certain things that we can provide that other clubs can't, but we can work together to make sure that, for example, tennis players can get strength and conditioning through our fitness suite, and we can then help and take things from them as well, and they take from us. It's just about sharing those knowledge. And the biggest thing is the joint up approach. We must be working together instead of against each other to try and create that whole community. Stonehaven, we pride ourselves to be a community area, and Portlethen community area. It's about time we actually joined up and did a joint up approach.
Fantastic. So just the final two things. You've been the rugby development officer here for
11 years.
Yeah, 11 years.
Long time.
How have you seen the landscape change in the last little while with the implementation of this community sports hub structure? Is it markedly different from when you first started?
Absolutely. Effectively, the biggest difference for me is, and I've said it a few times, that joint approach instead of bashing heads and trying to potentially fight for facilities, trying to organise, who uses what and when. It's more a better conversation where we can work together to benefit everybody instead of literally butting heads. And I've seen that in the past, but with this hub, it's that joint up approach that prevents that and creates that environment that the community wants to be a part of.
Brilliant. And then the final thing is we talk a lot, Scottish rugby and Caledonia North, about our
Yeah.
cultures, our values and behaviours. It's something that's important to us. Are you starting to see a unique set of cultures, values and behaviours developing out of this community sports hub and the good work that you're doing? And then just added on to that, in your opinion, the impact of having governing bodies like Scottish Rugby actively involved in the development of these sports hubs. How do those two things link together for you?
I think the biggest thing is it does all link together. Instead of getting one narrative from, for example, sports hub and another narrative from the Scottish Rugby, actually it's all tied together. So we're all looking at the same journey. We're all looking at the same approach. We're all looking at the same visions, the behaviours and culture. And all that does is just means that if somebody comes along and is part of any sport, they actually get an awareness of multiple sports, but also the governing bodies above those sports, all working in connection to provide the best opportunity that anybody from 3-4 years old all the way up to, I don't know, plus 70, plus 80 has an opportunity to try as many sports as possible, working as a unit, which is really good.
Fantastic. So the final bit is you got a good saying. You always say, "Watch this space."
Yeah.
What's next in terms of Mackie Rugby and the community sports hub in Stonehaven?
Just keep building on the partnership. Look to see how we can work together and create a whole family approach throughout everything. So if we're looking at, I don't know, that youth centre here on a Saturday night, how we can use that connection that we've got with the hub to get more people involved in it from different sports and different parts of the community. Not just for the rugby players, it's for everybody throughout. All right, so that's another vision for me, is to get a community youth centre outside of this club if we can, for everybody and anybody. So that's one thing we would look to progress onto.
Fantastic, James. Look, thanks again for your time this morning, man. Really appreciate it.
You too. Thank you very much for coming down.